It is not without justification that Bill Carney is known throughout the world as Mr. Eyesign. Before you see the eyes proper, Bill will give you pointers on how to understand the eyes.
Now where the arrow is showing or pointing, it is the pupil or the optic lens. The polarised shot of this eye is there to try and show you the different sphincter muscles in the pigeon's eye. And when the arrow moves on to the next point, I will show you the next sphincter muscle of the pigeon's eye. But what we will do from the polarised shot, we will then blow the eye up to normal, so then you can look at it yourself in reality. Now you can see it in reality or normal. You can see the pupil or optic lens. Now we will move the arrow onto the next sphincter muscle or sphincter muscle. Now on this posterised diagram of the pigeon's eye, we are moving now to the adaptation or circle around the pupil or sphincter muscle, or sphincter muscle as some pronounce it. On this one you can see the black circle around the optic lens or pupil. Now that is the second circle or second sphincter muscle of the pigeon's eye. And now we will blow the eye up to reality to try and show you. That's a good diagram, a good eye, and you can see it well. Now as we look at the posterised shot of the third sphincter muscle or third circle around the pupil, this is called the coloration. It's showing up grey on the posterised shot, and then when you look at it in reality you will see that it is tinging to violet. And this is a damn good shot of the coloration. There you see it in great depth. This what makes this pigeon a top pigeon, not just the adaptation around the pupil. Now the arrow this time points to the iris, and if you can study this eye where the arrow is, you can see the 5 circles coming out from the perimeter, the iris, the coloration, the adaptation and the pupil. And with this posterised shot of the eye, it is fantastic. It is there to try and show the pigeon fraternity what to look for. And in this particular eye, you can see that there's nothing dominates the eye. It is basically in proportion in different layers as it comes across the eye. Now you can see what I am talking about. And this is a very good pigeon, dual purpose racer breeder. Now if you look where the arrow is pointing in this shot, you will see the 5th circle or the perimeter of the pigeon's eye. And you will hear me mention this perimeter many times on the tape. And when you look at the eye in reality, you will see what I mean. And this is a good diagram of a pigeon's eye. It cut off into proportions or sections as you may wish to read it or look at the pigeon's eye. This is where people over the years have been very misled by thinking they must just have a big adaptation around the pupil or circle around the pupil. This can be man-made and overextended that the pigeons are worthless, just for showing for Eyesign, not producing pigeons to win races. Thank you very much.
The first section on eyes features the great Jan Grondelars, a terrific fancier, all-round champion of Belgium 7 times in the last 13 years. And here we see Bill pointing out some of the finer points on the eyes.
Right, this particular eye is old gold, full eye. Dual purpose, racer breeder, outstanding pigeon in headwinds or fast races. And you'll denote on this particular pigeon that from the optic lens or pupil we come to the ring of adaptation. Now, what makes this pigeon good? It doesn't have to have a very big wide adaptation, but the colour of the adaptation and the perimeter are the same colour. Now, what makes this a special pigeon, that the perimeter is coming over the top of the eye, which denotes dual purpose racer breeder, top pigeon.
What distance would it win at, Bill?
That pigeon has got a cross into it, and that pigeon would go out comfortable to 450, 460 miles.
This is the eye on 701, a sprint cock, a full brother to the Stoker, a winner of 4 first prizes up to 240 miles. The father to this cock was the Prince, a winner of 30 first prizes without duplication, based on the Fabry, Janssens, Hofkins pigeons. The Stoker won 13 first prizes without duplication.
Now, this eye we're looking at is whole gold. Again, with this particular pigeon, I would buy this pigeon. Very good pigeon in headwinds, sprint to middle distance, and I mean middle distance 300, 320, 330 mile. Again, a top producing cock, dual purpose. You'll denote the perimeter on this pigeon's eye is far stronger than the last eye we've looked at. This pigeon will leave his mark in the loft as a producer, and this pigeon is capable of winning many, many firsts. Top producing pigeon, I would buy it. In this particular pigeon, he has taken the eye of the mother, and he is a terrific cock, and he will dominate a stock loft.
This is the 702, the nestmate to the previous pigeon, again a full brother of the Stoker. This cock has won 3 first prizes up to a distance of 140 miles. But in some of those races, he was a minute or a minute and a half in front of his rivals. He really used to thrive on days when there were headwinds. Again, this son of the Prince is a tremendous racing cock.
This eye we're looking at now is where people would call it a violet-eyed pigeon. It is not really a violet eye. We call this type of eye a lilac-eyed pigeon. In a cockbird, this particular type of eye is full-eyed and globed. This pigeon would not only race, but he will also produce. Top pigeon, a cock that would produce top daughters, also top sons. Daughters from this type of eye will produce winners. And you will denote that the perimeter again is coming in over the top of the eye. A cock, a must for the stockbird pen. Fabulous pigeon with any type or coloured eye. This particular cock would produce winners.
This is the eye on the father to the Boers. This cock and his hen are a tremendous producing pair for Jan, and both are young pigeons, so they've got much life in them, and they will breed young grundlers many, many more first prize winners.
This particular eye we are looking at now, you can tell quite easy that it is an hen bird. you'll notice that the eye is concave or dish-shaped, where a cock is always globed. On this particular hen, she is a recessive violet eye. 5 circles, first, third, fifth sphincter muscle. She is a top hen. Fast pigeon, she's from fast origin. You can tell that by the base of the iris. This particular hen, not only would she race and capable of winning many prizes, would also be a prolific breeder in the stock loft. Breed exceptionally good sons, sprint to middle distance, and sons are capable of this particular hen would win anything out to 400 mile, best distance 350 to 370 mile.
This is the eye on the mother to the Boers, a famous stock hen for Jan. The father to this hen was the full brother to Orleans 1 and Orleans 2, and the mother, the full sister to the famous Stoker. This blue cock, a champion racing pigeon for Jan, is a son out of the famous good yearling.
This particular eye we are looking at is a full-eyed pigeon, a pigeon with plenty of character and dominance, a pigeon that you could race every week and thrive on it. Full eye, old gold, superimposed or compositive eye. That is from 9 o'clock till 5 o'clock. But this particular pigeon is a gold mine, not only as a racer, as a producer, and this particular eye I happened to be looking at last night, and I rated this as one of the top pigeons of Jan Grandelier's birds. A pigeon I would give my right hand for. Prolific cock, paired with any recessive violet-eyed hen, would produce top racing cocks. A gold mine as a producer and as a racer, super pigeon.
This son of the good yearling, as I said before, has been a tremendous racing pigeon for Jan, but up to a distance of about 240 miles. His father won 5 times first provincial for Jan, one of the most famous middle distance pigeons in Belgium.
This particular eye that we are looking at now, again, is a globe eye, full-eyed pigeon, but this time you cannot see the perimeter as dominant as on the other ones. It is just as the camera has catched the eye, set into the eye. This is a prolific breeding pigeon, and not only will he breed, he will race. Top pigeon, any velocity, he will have a go. But I would like to race this pigeon in velocities around 1160 to 1220 yards a minute. Be a great pigeon, good pooling pigeon, plenty of character, and will produce good daughters for producing. A top pigeon.
This is the eye on the Vetcher, the full brother to Freddy and Hornu. Fabulous pigeons. All bred from a brother of the good yearling from 1978. That pigeon has since been sold to Germany. One of the best stock pigeons that Jan Grondel has ever bred. The Vetcher won many good prizes for Jan, including twice the winner of the very big club, the Independente from Liège. A very, very difficult club to win.
This particular eye that has come up now is a prolific pigeon. I would call this pigeon a sport. Top pigeon, plenty of character, doesn't matter if it is raining or sunshine, headwinds or tailwinds. This pigeon would perform extremely well. Out is just a prolific racing pigeon, but as a stock bird, you will notice if you look at the adaptation on this particular pigeon, people wouldn't rate this pigeon as a producer. But this pigeon will go on for many years and produce top pigeons, equally as good as himself, cocks and hens. This pigeon is worth a lot of money and I would buy this pigeon. I would like to explain this particular eye, where people that look at eyes wouldn't rate this pigeon. He has a globe eye, full eye, plenty of character, plenty of strength, medium to small pupil, and a very good perimeter.
This is the famous Freddie of young Grondolas, a magnificent racing cock, a winner of first provincial and many times in the first 10 in the province. Stock for stock in 1986. This is the world famous Dreebander. He is the full brother to Orleans 1 and Orleans 2. This cock had never raced, but is a champion producing pigeon.
Again, in this particular eye, you can denote the character of the family and the inbreeding. A lilac-eyed pigeon again, full eye. Prolific breeding pigeon and also a top racer. Myself, I would rather race this pigeon than and breed off him. He will produce winners, but not so good as his other brother. He is a top pigeon, full eye, but you'll denote on this particular pigeon that the perimeter is an opposite colour to the adaptation. Exceptionally good racing pigeon, headwinds would get out in front. A pigeon I would love to race, but as a stock cock, itty missy. It would have to be a top breeding hen with this cock.
Jan sold this pigeon, the Dreebander, as a young bird into Germany. It was bought by Peter Trost, who also owned his brother, Orleans 1. It bred some tremendous pigeons in Germany. For everybody that got the youngsters out of the Dreebander, bred winners. 3 years ago, Jan repurchased this pigeon. He paid Peter Trost £3,000 to buy the cock back.
Now, this particular eye that we're looking at now is an old gold. Now, you can see straight away from looking at this pigeon's eye that he is very inbred by the iris. The iris denotes the inbreeding. This pigeon is also a top racer, but a prolific breeder. Eyesight men in a whole would just say a racing pigeon, but no, this is a super breeding cock. His adaptation, coloration, iris and perimeter are all married, and you'll denote how strong the perimeter is coming in over the top of the eye on the left hand side of the eye. Fantastic pigeon, would race, but a gold mine in the breeding loft. A pigeon I would like to take home.
This cock was never raced. He's a son of the broken wing. He's the full brother to the good yearling. A tremendous producing pigeon from 1981. This is the 155. One of his sons was first provincial Orleans for young Grondolas. All the pigeons from the broken wing breed winners.
This particular eye that we're looking at now, again, lilac-eyed pigeon, first, third and fifth sphincter muscle the same. A good racing pigeon, a pigeon that would like headwinds, overcast days, medium to large pupil, good honest racing pigeon would have to be paired with a really good strong old gold to nut brown eyed hen, a good top producing hen. Far better pigeon as a racing pigeon. Myself, this pigeon I would keep in the racing loft, not in the stock loft.
This is the eye on the full brother to the good yearling, out of the famous broken wing cock. Here is Orleans 2, the full brother to Orleans 1 and the Dreebander. This outstanding racing pigeon won 5 first prizes. He was first in the Orleans Classic, beating 20,800 pigeons. He has turned out to be a tremendous producer, breeding many, many winners. 2 of his sons feature in the video, and they are the next eyes you will see.
Right, the eye we are looking at now, I am in raptures over. This you can see, the eye bred first cross in this particular pigeon. This is a gold mine. Not only as a racing pigeon, he will also produce. This pigeon, he needn't go out the loft to leave his mark, he'll leave it with his progeny. But what a pigeon. Top racing pigeon, most consistent, dual purpose racer breeder. The eye on this particular pigeon is medium to small pupil, but you will notice how the adaptation is going out into the coloration, and on the left hand side from 9 till 1 o'clock you'll see how the perimeter is coming in right over the eye. This is a super pigeon.
This is a son of Orleans 2, the 107 from 1984. It's Jan Grondelar's most consistent racing cock at present. Obviously a first prize winner, and he races tremendously well, up to a distance of 400 miles. His mother was second ace pigeon for all Belgium for sprinting in 1982.
Again this time, this particular eye is a full brother to the last eye that we saw. Now this particular pigeon has taken after the mother, not the Gondolier pigeons. You can see the cross in this particular eye. This pigeon will be a very good racing pigeon, head wins, and is capable of going out to 4 to 450 mile. Good pigeon in velocities around 1220 to 1300 yards a minute. Top racing pigeon. The eye has got character, strength, and you'll notice that the perimeter isn't so strong on this particular cock, but he will be a very good racing pigeon at middle distance.
This is the full brother to the previous pigeon, another son of Orleans 2, when paired on to the good hen, which was second ace sprint pigeon in 1982. This cock has also won first prizes for Jan, up to a distance of 400 miles. He rates him very highly, and he thinks he will have a very good season with him again next year. This is the mother to the 2 previous pigeons, when this hen was mated onto Orleans 2. This is a phenomenal racing pigeon. Only races a young bird. She was second ace pigeon in 1982 for all Belgium for sprinting. The pigeon that actually won the championship that year was the Withoog. So you can imagine how good she was. It's the first time a young hen has figured so high in the championship. She bet 6,000 pigeons by 12 minutes, 26,000 pigeons by 10 minutes. Staggering performances. You can now see why she's bred such good pigeons. This hen is a tremendous producer for young grundlers.
Oh, what a beautiful hen. This, again, you can see is a dish-eyed shaped pigeon. It tells you that it's an hen, it is not globe-eyed. And it is quite easy to sex pigeons by the eyes. But what a prolific hen. Not only as a racer, a flying machine, but as a hen that will leave her mark for the next 20 years in any stock loft. A great hen. A hen I would give my right arms for again. And you can denote on this particular pigeon medium to small pupil, and the colour of the adaptation and the perimeter are the same. This is a gravelly violet-eyed, recessive-eyed hen. He's a very top hen in the stock loft anywhere in the world. They leave their mark. Fantastic.
This is the eye on the champion racer producer, the Ace Dufky, the good hen. As I have said previously, this hen nearly won the Belgium Sprint Championship for all Belgium and only raced as a young bird. She was actually second in the championship. An absolutely remarkable achievement. This is the Great Orleans one of young grundlers, regarded by Roger Persons and Felix Powells and many insiders in Belgium as being the finest pigeon that ever lived. As a racing cock, he won 15 first prizes, 5 times first provincial, and in 2 of the races, in the Orleans Classic, in 1974 and 1975, he bet 19,500 pigeons on one occasion and above 21,000 on the other. 2 years together. Unbelievable. But more important, this cock is a terrific producer, and all his sons and daughters and all his grandchildren breed first prize winners. This cock is packed with the winning gene. He typifies everything that is good in the sport. He's not a big pigeon, about medium size but very, very well balanced. Very, very intelligent also. The Great Orleans one.
On this particular eye we're looking at now, again a lilac-eyed recessive violet. This particular pigeon would sprint in any velocity and is capable of going out to the 400 mile. Best distance 280 to 320. Will produce a top pigeon. A pigeon I would like to race very much, and he does carry the character of his father in the iris. And you will note between 11 and 3 o'clock the back end of the iris is coming right in. And this is the character of his father. Plenty of strength, top pigeon.
This is a grandson of Orleans one, the 143. First prize winner for Jan at 150 miles at Sassant. Also a first prize winner at 200 miles. The short distance pigeon.
Right, this particular eye, you can see it is getting watered down from the original pigeons. This type of eye is again almost like a hen eye, flat-based, blow-home tailwind pigeon. This kind of pigeon would be a very, very fast pigeon in Belgium. The type of pigeon for sprint, fast races. As a producer, no good. As a racer, very good. Type of pigeon you'd must have in the racing loft. But why you wouldn't use this pigeon in the breeding loft is there is a big deterioration in the iris, and you must have the 5 sphincter muscles in the eye to marry. Fast pigeon, blow-home pigeon, but as a producer, no.
Another grandson of Orleans 1. This again is more of a short distance racing pigeon. He's won 2 first prizes at Shimmy, which is 150 miles. He's also won other prizes, but mostly at short distance. His ring number is the 036.
Right, again you can see the Glandolier Janssen base pigeon again in this eye. Full eye, globed, a lot of character, and this particular pigeon I would love to race. But not only will he win at sprint races, this pigeon is capable of going out to 380, 400 mile. Best distance 360, 370. At velocities around 12, 30 yards a minute. Will produce a very good pigeon. Plenty of character, a strength and a very good pooling pigeon. A pigeon I would like to race again myself. A lilac-eyed based pigeon.
This is the 060. The nephew to Freddie, out of Freddie's full brother. This cock also won first prize at 200 miles for young Grondelars. Another short distance racing pigeon.
This particular eye we're looking at now is Old Gold Full Eye. Now this particular pigeon, very fast pigeon. As a producer, itty missy. A good pigeon in velocities around 14 or 1500 yards a minute. He would win at 18 and 1900 yards a minute, but best velocity between 1450. Medium to large pupil. Again, you'll notice that the adaptation and the perimeter are a different colour. On this particular pigeon, basically fast pigeon, good racing pigeon, the type to have in the racing loft. As a breeder, very itty missy. One good pigeon in every 10.
This is a terrific racing pigeon for Jan. It won 3 first prizes in one season, up to a distance of 250 miles. This cock is from 1985. It's the 055.
What a cracker, this particular eye. This pigeon here would not only win at 100 mile, this pigeon would go out to 450, 480 mile. Prolific pigeon, dual purpose, racer, breeder. This particular pigeon, you'll notice how strong the perimeter is. It is coming all round the eye, right over the top. with a full, what I term a full eye in the iris. You'll notice that the iris and the coloration is coming in to the adaptation. This particular pigeon, very consistent, a pigeon that you can pull regular, but not only will he race and give his best, this pigeon a gold mine in the breeding loft.
This is the champion La Souterraine. In 1984, this cock won the La Souterraine Provincial by a staggering 8 minutes. His ring number is a 706 from 82. This next section features Roger Persons, the best friend of young Grondelars. His family is 70% Grondelars and 30% his old family. He is among the top 4 middle distance fanciers for all Belgium. The Bunton, one of the first sons from the Little Black to leave his mark on the family. This cock breeds very fast pigeons indeed. One of Roger's best racing cocks at the present time has won 4 or 5 first prizes at the short distance, and it is off this cock. He is the full brother to the vykil and Montague. There we have the eye on the bunter.
Right, this particular pigeon of this family of pigeons we are looking at now, you can tell this is an old pigeon with the deterioration of the iris. This pigeon, dish or flat-based pigeon, not just like the hens but flat-based, sprint to middle distance, very fast pigeon, and will produce fast pigeons. Equally as good hens as cocks, but as the distance increases over the 250 to 260 mile, this pigeon would be pushed, but would produce very fast pigeons. But you can see on this particular pigeon around 12 o'clock, 9 o'clock and 5 o'clock a deterioration in the iris. And when you get this, the pigeon is starting to deteriorate, will still carry on producing but not top pigeons.
The bunter was a very good racing cock, but as a producer was more inclined to breed sprint pigeons or short middle distance birds up to a distance of maybe 240 miles. His brother and sister, the Montague and the vykil, however, bred winners up to 400 and 500 miles. There's a son of the bunter, the 666. A good pigeon, and he excelled at both short, middle and long distance, but he was one of the exceptions. That is the eye of the 666.
This particular eye that we're looking at now, we've just looked at its father's eye, the Bonton. As I told you, it was flat base, not concave or dish-shaped. This cock is globe-eyed, plenty of character, and you'll denote the character around the perimeter, also around the adaptation, and this is the first one, or sphincter muscle, around the optic lens or pupil. This is a prolific pigeon. Not only would he sprint or middle distance, this pigeon would win out to 480 mile quite easy. A pigeon capable of flying 12 or 13 hours on the wing and produce top daughters. This particular pigeon has got plenty of character. You can see the cross into this pigeon, and this is where it gets its vitality. Again, this particular pigeon has got 5 circles or sphincter muscles, and this pigeon on its own would fill a loft, but a pigeon I would love to race in national races. A good pigeon for pooling and most consistent.
This is the champion stock hen, the vykil. In her time, maybe the best stock hen in Belgium. This hen bred champion pigeons with 5 different cocks. 3 ace pigeons have been bred by this hen. She is the mother of the Orleans, the ace pigeon, the good whip hen, the diter, the 656, the boy. The list is endless. One of the pigeons that is not often mentioned that this hen bred was the De Heeren from 1978. He was 4 times first provincial. That is the quality of this stock hen. There's the ace pigeon for 1979 for all Belgium. That's the last son out of the old nest bender when paired onto the vykil in 1976. Jan Grondelaars actually borrowed the vykil to pair to his good stock cock, the Orleans 1. The result, the toker. This is perhaps the most famous son of the vykil. This is the Orleans. First in the Orleans Classic, beating over 28,000 pigeons by 4 minutes. The vykil at that time was paired on to a cock from Jan Grondelaars. That is the eye of the Orleans.
The eye we are looking at now is old gold full eye. A prolific racing pigeon, a pigeon capable of going out to 380 miles and win out of turn. This pigeon could win from 50 miles to 380. But as a producer, this pigeon hasn't got a lot of character. I would rate him to produce about 1 good pigeon in every 10. But as a racer, he is a racing machine. A medium to small pupil, but the adaptation around this pigeon's eye has no character and no perimeter with character at all. So this makes this pigeon a top racing pigeon.
The Orleans, a terrific racing pigeon. The Montague, a terrific pigeon, full brother to the vykil. This cock was twice first provincial, breeding 5,000 pigeons on both occasions, once from Montague and the other time from Orleans. This cock's a terrific producer, breeding the first national ace pigeon yearling in 1982 for all Belgium. Montague's eye.
Gosh, this is a great pigeon. He is tinging off the lilac to white violet. This pigeon here is a golden pigeon. A pigeon that many, many men would love to own. You can see the character and the full eye, how it comes in from the perimeter right in across the coloration into the adaptation. Medium to small pupil, this particular cock would win and win out a turn, a type of pigeon that you would get and expect to do something out of this world. But not only as a racing pigeon, this pigeon will leave his mark in the stock loft for 10 to 15 years. This eye will breed with violets or gold, any colour eye you compare it to.
I'm sure it's becoming apparent to everybody what a tremendous influence the Little Black has had on Roger Person's family of pigeons. And this son, the Montague, has been a terrific producer for Roger, as well as a very good racing pigeon. He's bred many, many winners for Roger Persons. One of the pigeons is a pigeon we will see shortly. It's the 988 from 1981. There he is. This cock, obviously a very, very good first prize winning pigeon, is the full brother to the first national ace pigeon yearling for all Belgium in 1983. Those are the quality pigeons that the Montague breeds. The nest bender is the mainstay in one side of Roger's family, but also in the other side. And there he is, the nest bender and the Orleans one of young Grondelars. The nest bender is the father to the Iseran, the Orleans one the father to the Toker, when paired to the vykil. The Iseran and Toker are Roger Person's best stock pair. An unbelievable pair of pigeons, and there's just 6 of the champions they've bred. Fleur, Jan, Brive, Geschifte, Limoges and the 101. There's been about 20, but they are the most important to date. There we have the Iseran and the Toker. A very unflattering picture of the Toker. Now you see another generation further forward. The Iseran is the full brother to the Little Black. Perhaps you can now see the family influence on both sides of the family. There he is, the terrific producing pigeon. Obviously, as I've said before, a son of the nest bender. We could go on all day talking about the many, many great pigeons that this cock's bred. But to be fair, he's also paired onto a very, very good hen. The Toker is a terrific producing pigeon. Young Grondelars borrowed the vykil to pair to Orleans one before he went to Germany. And they only got 2 youngsters, and they shared them. One's the Toker, and I don't know which the other is. But 1 out of 2 can't be bad. That is the eye on the Iseran.
Right, the eye we are looking at now is a type of pigeon I would base a family on to make a family of eyes. This particular pigeon, not only would he produce, this pigeon is capable of flying 450 to 500 mile and wing time on the wing anything from 12 to 14 hours. A prolific cock, top stock cock. A cock that again I would give my right arm for. A type of pigeon that you could make a family or mould a family around. Paired with recessive violet-eyed pigeons would breed top racing cocks. Cocks to win from 180 to 420, and you'd get some to go out to the 480 mile mark. But 420 to 180 mile, this cock would really produce them. A cock that is golden in any stock loft. the type of pigeon you must strive to get to produce a winning family. Fantastic pigeon.
This is the Geschifter, a son of the Eisner and Toker, Roger's #1 racing cock. This cock won 15 first prizes in 3 years, including 4 times first provincial. 3 of those provincial races were as a yearling, and then as a 2-year-old he bet 2,400 pigeons from Orleans. In a moment you will see the eye on 5 sons out of the Eisner and Toker. The first is the eye of the Geschifter.
Right, the eye we're looking at now, you can see the domination of his father or sire. This pigeon here is not only a racing pigeon, he is a flying machine. This pigeon here would win from 50 mile to 500 mile in any wind, any weather, any velocity. A golden pigeon. As a producer, itty missy, you would get out of this type of pigeon 4 good ones, I would say, out of 10. I would like to see some daughters out of this particular cock's eye. You will notice that the perimeter isn't so dominant, but what a prolific racing pigeon, and capable of flying right out to 500 miles. A pigeon again capable of flying 12-13 hours on the wing. Best velocity 11-20 to 12-30 yards a minute.
I think everybody will appreciate the tremendous quality of the Geschifter's eye. A tremendous racer, but just to think what damage he's going to do as a breeding pigeon. A wonderful cock, maybe once in a lifetime. That is the eye on the Geschifter's brother, the Breve, first provincial from Breve.
This particular eye we're looking at now, you can see where the mother has played her part, but you'll still see where the sire has left his mark in the iris. Now this particular pigeon is capable of flying 5 to 520 mile, 530 mile. On a good flying day at around 1,300 yards a minute, he is capable of going out to 540 mile. Very good pigeon, plenty of character. A pigeon that basically I would say comes into form about the middle of June, and a pigeon that really hadn't done anything outstanding before it was 2 years old. But after 2 year olds on this particular pigeon, he would do the job what you asked him. As a producer with a golden-eyed hen, would produce. Fantastic pigeon.
That's the Breve. His eye is very similar to that of his mother. This cock, from 480 miles, was 28th national for Roger out of 12,730 birds. A tremendous performance. No amount of distance can stop these cocks from winning. This is the 101, the full brother of the Geschifter and the Breve. His eye follows more towards the father's.
The eye we're looking at now is old gold superimposed compositive eye. A full eye, racing machine, but as a producer, itty missy. You'll notice that the perimeter and the adaptation are out of contrast. This pigeon from 120 mile to 280 mile is about his distance. He would perform well in those kind of races, fast or slow races. But a race this pigeon would like is around 1227 to 1311 yards a minute. But as a producer, no. Although he is bred off the good cock, he is a better sport as a racer than a producer. A pigeon you must keep in the racing loft. You would get misled with pigeons of this type of cock. It would have to be a prolific breeding hen to get something like.
Another brother to the previous pigeons. This cock never raced. This is the Flora, a tremendous producing pigeon.
In this particular cock we're looking at now, you can see the dominance of the hen. This pigeon should never be raced, but he would win and be a top pigeon, but a golden pigeon in the stock loft. You can see the dominance of this pigeon's mother. This particular cock will not only breed top racing cocks, it will also produce good hens that will produce. Again, like his father, a top cock, a pigeon that should be put into a stock loft to build a family round. You can see on this particular pigeon's eye the dominance of the perimeter. You can really see it coming out over the top of the eye, and it marries up with the iris, the coloration and doptation. Fantastic pigeon.
Roger could see tremendous quality in this pigeon, the Flora. He never raced him, and he immediately repaid his confidence, breeding a fed winner out of 4,000 pigeons and another fed winner out of 6,000. This is the eye on the young Iseran.
Again, we have another brother here. You can see where the hen has left a mark on this particular pigeon. But this particular pigeon is not a top pigeon. He will win prizes along the road, but a pigeon that will come out and perhaps win a prize when you don't expect him. As a producer, virtually no good at all. But as a racing pigeon, a middle-of-the-road pigeon. A type of pigeon, as I've just stated, that will win a prize when you don't expect him. Myself, this particular pigeon, if he was in my loft, he would be a non-plume. On this particular pigeon's eye, as you will see, there is hardly any adaptation and hardly any coloration, and the iris is going very wishy-washy. The particular pigeon is showing stress at this time when this pigeon's eye photo was taken. At 9 o'clock on the pigeon's eye, it is showing stress. If you look into it, a weakness.
This is the 733 of Roger Persons, now called Porto, because it was Belgium's representative at the Portugal Olympiad. That is the eye on the Porto.
Right, the eye we're looking at now, again, is a full-eyed pigeon, but this particular pigeon has a very, very small perimeter and a small adaptation. Old gold, compositive eye or superimposed. As a racer, a pigeon you could put your money on and would be very consistent. Good pigeon, very honest, but as a producer, virtually nothing. He is a sport, a racing pigeon, and this particular pigeon, as I stated, would hardly breed because the perimeter and adaptation don't come or marry together. And you'll notice a deterioration from 12 o'clock to 6 o'clock in the iris. Out and out racing pigeon and very honest. But as I've already stated, a pigeon that will breed virtually nothing.
Is the fabulous Ganopter. the eye on the gonopter.
This particular eye we're looking at now is an old gold full eye. This pigeon, a good many would rate him as a top breeding pigeon by looking at his adaptation. This particular pigeon would have to be paired to a very light recessive violet-eyed hen or a lemon-eyed hen with very small or virtually hardly any iris whatsoever. This pigeon would be a good pigeon in overcast and wet days. A pigeon that I would like to race myself in races around the 320 to 360 mile, but would produce, as I have just almost just stated, with a very light recessive-eyed hen or a lemon-eyed hen. Good cock, but as a producer, not too good without you've got him paired to the right two ends, and they would do the job. They would break the iris up a little bit and give it a little bit more character.
And that's the Petros, full brother to the Brave Peter of young Grondelars. The father to that cock is the Orleans one, mated on to the daughter of the good yearling. That's the eye on the Petros.
The pigeon we are looking at now isn't a lilac-eyed pigeon. This is the pearly-eyed to white-violet-eyed pigeon. A prolific breed of this pigeon, a gold mine in the stock loft. Globe-eyed, full eye. You'll notice how the perimeter is coming over the top of the eye into the iris, but you'll notice how the iris is coming down into the coloration. Now this what makes this pigeon a top producing pigeon. Would breed and would race. Dual purpose pigeon, but a pigeon myself I would prefer to keep in the stock loft, but would be a very good racing pigeon. Now this particular pigeon, if he was paired to a recessive violet eye or lilac eye, would produce. But best of all, I would like to pair him to an old gold to nut brown eye.
Petros, the full brother to the Brave Peter. The Brave Peter was national ace pigeon for all Germany 2 years ago. He won 5 first provincials in 2 seasons, in between 1,000 and 2,000 birds a race. That's the Merks, son of the Orleans of Roger Persons. And this is the eye of the Merks.
Now we're coming back to the lilac-eyed pigeon. Full eye, but this pigeon, as a producer, would be itty-missy. Not a top producing pigeon, but as a racer, very, very good. Most consistent. Every time you race this pigeon, he would have a go. A good pool bird, and a pigeon that would perform out to 380 mile. Exceptionally good racing pigeon. To breed off this pigeon, you would have to have a really strong old gold eye, with the perimeter being very extended over the top of the iris to bring it back into this particular pigeon. But as a racer, he is golden. A pigeon I would like to race very much.
This cock, the Merks, thrived on work. He's a son of the Orleans of Roger Persons. In one season, he raced for 2,000 miles, winning top prizes at every race. And in his last race from Bourges, he was 14th national out of 4,000 pigeons. And that's the famous Whitten tick. That cock has won for 5 first prizes for sure. A tremendous pigeon. I've always noticed that most of the best racing cocks usually have advantageous perches, and he's at the top of the shop. Now we're going to feature the eye on the Whitten tick. The eye on the fabulous Whitten tick, a winner of 5 first prizes.
Right, the eye we're looking at now is again the Glondorilia blaced eye, a lilac-eyed pigeon full eye. This type of pigeon is a prolific racer. He is something special. This pigeon has got character. Not only would he sprint and win in fast races, he would sprint and win races of around 1,000 yards a minute. Very, very good pigeon. This particular pigeon I would love to race. But looking at his eye, people, to what they've been led to believe of the adaptation, is very, very narrow. Is a compositive eye from 9 o'clock to 5 o'clock. But this pigeon has something great. If you really study the perimeter, how it is coming out over the top of the eye and how the adaptation is going out into the coloration, this particular pigeon would breed top pigeons. A fantastic breeding cock with a lemon-eyed or a recessive violet-eyed hen. At 4 o'clock you notice the blood spasm, and this denotes when a pigeon is in super form. It can go anywhere in the eye.
Was last year a very good pigeon, want he is now is in the book of the history of the Belgian survivor sport.
Yes?
Yes, I can show you that. It's in this book.
Ah,
So this is from last year.
dry. Can the camera get that, Peter? Yeah. This is the Little's eye.
This particular eye we are looking at, this is a racing pigeon, a pigeon that will do the distance. A pigeon I would like to send to any race from 400 to 520, 530 mile. This pigeon has an old gold full eye, and you'll notice that the perimeter and the adaptation is the same colour. A very, very good, honest pigeon, a pigeon that would like to work, a pigeon capable of flying 400 and 500 mile and pull a plough behind him. Fantastic pigeon, but not only is he a racing pigeon, this pigeon will produce winners with a recessive or a violet-eyed hen.
This is the eye of the Motter, a champion long-distance racing cock for Roger. This pigeon never tires. In one race from Barcelona this year, out of 18,076 birds flying 700 miles, this cock was 89th in the international. It already had many, many good prizes prior to that, at 500 and 600 miles that year. Roger only sent 2 pigeons to Barcelona and got top prizes with them both. This cock was first ace pigeon for the Marathon Championship of Limburg. 8,500 members. A terrific cock.
This pigeon we're looking at now, you can see it is a crossbred pigeon. Medium to small pupil, a pigeon with plenty of character and would fly all day, capable of flying 14 or 15 hours on the wing. As a producer, this pigeon would not produce, just a racing pigeon.
This last section on the video features the great Felix Powell's, 6 times in the last 8 years champion of all Belgium at sprint racing. His family consists of 80% Grondelars and 20% Janssen. This is Felix Powell's #1 stock cock, the Jan. He bred 20 first prize winners, including the ace pigeon for all Belgium in 1982.
The eye we are looking at now is a magnificent eye. A pigeon that has got character and that is dominant. This pigeon will produce good sons and good daughters. Old gold, full eye. Now, as the camera has catch this particular eye in this position, you cannot see the perimeter as well as you should do. But if you cast your eyes from 10 o'clock to 7 o'clock, you will see how dominant the perimeter is. Now this pigeon has 5 separate sphincter muscles or sphincter muscles, and this particular pigeon, it is brilliant. They stand out. You can count them out easy from the optic lens. A cock that would produce with a lemon-eyed or a violet-eyed hen, top pigeons.
This is the eye on the Yan, the backbone of Felix Powell's loft. Same as I've said, he's bred above 20 first prize winners. Terrific pigeons, including the Witoog, the ace pigeon for all Belgium in 1982. Father to 14 first prize winners when paired to the famous Janssen hen from 77. This cock and his brother, the Tammer, as I have said, are the backbone of Felix Powell's loft. Here we are in the stock loft. It houses 12 pair of pigeons. There we have the famous 736, the full brother to the Bourge of Jan Grondelars, the Bourge 1.
Here we have another top pigeon, old gold to nut brown. This particular pigeon is capable of not only breeding top pigeons, but also a producer. As you can see by the perimeter from 11 o'clock to 8 o'clock, you can see how the camera's catched it. Now this particular pigeon, not only would he produce, he would have been a good racing pigeon in headwinds, overcast. This pigeon has a full eye, a pigeon I really like and a pigeon I'm looking for all the time. If you happen to catch out of a cockbird with this type of eye, he will fill a loft and leave his name in the loft for a good many years.
Felix Powell's paid Jan Grondelars approximately £8,000 for 4 cocks. This is one of the cocks, the 736, the full brother to Jan's Bourge 1, ace pigeon for all Belgium in 1975. This cock has been an absolute goldmine to Felix Powell's. A terrific pigeon from 1973. This pigeon is the Tammer, the full brother to the Jan. A terrific stock pigeon for Felix Powell's.
Now this pigeon we are looking at, I'm oozing over. This pigeon I rate as good as Felix Powell's #1 stock cock. Equally as good. This pigeon here is a super pigeon. This pigeon is fantastic. Now you can see the different sphincter muscles in the pigeon's eye going from the optic lens, adaptation, coloration, iris and perimeter. Fantastic cock. This cock would be paired to hens with a nut brown eye, a pearl eye, a lilac eye or a lemon eye. Fantastic cock and produce top sons. A pigeon that is worth a lot of money today.
The famous Tammer, along with his brother Jan, the backbone of Felix Powell's loft. Later in this video you will see 4 pigeons that this cock's bred, tremendous racing pigeons. And in this year 1986, this cock bred the 2nd ace pigeon for all Belgium for sprint racing. A tremendous pigeon that won this year 4 first prizes. He actually won 3 first prizes last year as well. There, that's the son of the famous Witoog, a grandson to the Jan. The father of this cock was ace pigeon for all Belgium in 1982.
Right, the pigeon's eye we are looking at now is again going back to the Jan Grondelars pigeons, a lilac-eyed pigeon. This pigeon is a full-eyed pigeon. Now you can basically see from the perimeter right out into the adaptation. Very little coloration. on this pigeon's eye. This denotes character, power and strength. Not only as a racing pigeon and a pigeon that would fight in headwinds, this cock will produce fast daughters and fast sons. He is a dual-purpose pigeon, paired again with a lemon or a yellow eye, and also would go to a dominant violet. Fantastic breeding pigeon.
The father of this cock was the famous Wittoog, the White Eye, sold to Japan in 1984. This was the last cock out of the White Eye before he went to Japan for a tremendous amount of money. He was ace pigeon for all Belgium in 1982. This cock has got the eye of his father. This is another tremendous producer for Felix Powell's. This is the father to his car winner, the Zwart from 73.
Right, what a cracker. Old gold, full eye. Fantastic pigeon. A pigeon that would breed with a shuttlecock. This is a fantastic pigeon. Just look at the perimeter. God, I would give both arms for this pigeon. He is a fantastic cock and will breed exceptionally good sons. This pigeon to a dominant violet or recessive violet would breed good daughters, but with a lemon-eyed or nut brown-eyed hen will breed very fast sons. This is a prolific pigeon, but you will notice at 9 o'clock and 6 o'clock where the iris is starting to deteriorate and show the pigeon's age, but an exceptionally good pigeon.
The Zwart from 73 is a tremendous producer for Felix Powell's. In 1977 he bred a cock that won Felix Powell's a car in a competition organised by Versal Lager for all Europe. There were 450 prizes in that competition, and Felix not only won the car, he also got second in the same competition. This year a young cock from the Zwarten has won 3 first prizes for Felix. And that's the old Breve from Jan Grondelars. That came to Felix's loft at the same time as the 736 and the Zwart, and another cock which I cannot remember, and they cost £8,000. This has been a terrific producer, a tremendous pigeon. We have 5 off this cock. The old Breve. That's a son out of Jan Grondelars' Driebander, the full brother to Orleans 1 and Orleans 2.
Here we have another lilac eye. This is a young pigeon, and you can tell by the iris as this pigeon is an inbred pigeon. Now, I stated about Jan Grondelars' cock that he wouldn't be a top producer, and this shows it in this young cock. This particular pigeon would race, not exceptionally good, but as a breeder, itty-missy. A kind of pigeon, you may get 1 or 2 fair pigeons out of 10 or 12 young birds. Not a top producing pigeon, blow-home pigeon, fast races. To put a pigeon like this in the loft, it must be an exceptionally good hen with a strong nut brown eye.
This son of the Driebander carries a similar eye to his father being the full brother to Orleans 1 and Orleans 2. Is it your favourite pigeon?
It's my favourite.
Your favourite pigeon, yeah.
Right, the eye we are looking at now is a good racing eye, old gold, full eye. But you'll note on this particular pigeon that the perimeter is very narrow. Shows it is a racing pigeon, sprint pigeon from 50 mile, 150, 170 mile, and then the pigeon would be about spent. But a prolific racer, and that is all. A pigeon that I would only race.
The comrade of Felix Powell's, full brother to the Wittoog, out of the famous cock the Jan. This cock was third ace sprint pigeon for all Belgium in 1984. He's won quite a few first prizes, and in 1984 he won 17 prizes from 17 races. 14 of them were in the first 10. The old Tammer. And this year he won 3 first prizes. Magnificent. The father to this cock is direct from Jan Grondelhaus.
Yeah.
Yes, from 1973.
The father, yes.
Yes. A full brother to the Jan. No, Jan.
The
yes.
father is a full brother to the Jan.
Jan. How many pigeons in the race were when he won this year? In between 200 and 300?
200.
Yes, 200, yes. Plus or minus, yeah. Very good balance.
Yeah.
Yes, very good balance.
The eye we are looking at now, again, I term a full eye. You can see how the iris comes right from the perimeter right into the adaptation, almost straight through the coloration. Now this is what we term a full eye. This pigeon, fabulous pigeon, racing machine. Sprint to middle distance, but I'll rate this pigeon up to a distance of about 170 mile. Best distance 100 mile to 150. As a producer, not so hot.
This is a champion son of the famous Tammer. This cock was second ace pigeon for all Belgium in 1986. In the last 3 years, he has won 9 first prizes. A tremendous pigeon. This is another son of the Tammer, the full brother to the second ace pigeon. This is the 401, a tremendous racing cock for Felix.
Now, as you can see this eye, you can see that he is a brother to the other cock. But this pigeon is a fantastic cock. He will not only race and be a top racing pigeon, he will also produce. You can see the perimeter coming in all around the eye. Fantastic. And at 12 o'clock, you can see the blood spasm just coming.
This is the 401, another champion son of the old Tammer. The full brother, the second ace pigeon for all Belgium this year, the winner of 9 prizes. This cock won a first prize in 1983, also in 84 a first, and also in 85 a first prize. In 86 too, first prizes. A great pigeon. 8 prizes in the first 10 in 1986. There's another son out of the Tammer. Another first prize winner.
Now this eye that we're looking at now, again, is coming to the full eye. You'll notice that the iris is coming right straight across the coloration to the adaptation. And the coloration of any pigeon's eye lies between the adaptation and the iris. So you'll notice that how the iris is coming over the top. This particular pigeon will produce with a recessive volatile or a lilacoid hen. I would like a hen with a very short or narrow iris for this type of cock. This pigeon will win and race well, sprint to middle distance, a very fast pigeon, but also would produce. Not so well with a lemon-eyed or a nut brown-eyed hen. Now, as we look at this pigeon's eye, you'll see on this particular pigeon, the coloration is going right out into the iris. Racing pigeon, blowhome, a type of pigeon that would come in short, fast races, but as a producing pigeon, no. It would have to be a top producing hen to try and get something out, so you are wasting your time.
This is the Ganopter, another champion son of the Tamer, full brother to the two previous pigeons. It must be getting quite monotonous, but it's a fact, and the Tamer must be regarded as being very nearly as good as his brother the Jan at producing first prize winners. This cock won a first prize from Compagnie in 1985 out of 244 pigeons. He raced tremendously well in 84 and also, for that matter, this year.
Right, we can see this is a hen. You can sex pigeons by their eyes. There are concaved or dish-shaped eyes, or convexed or a globe-shaped eye in the cock. The hen is always dish-shaped eye. This particular pigeon is fantastic. If you note how the perimeter comes right in across the iris, you can see it climbing over the top. Prolific hen this hen would breed with an old gold, nut brown or a recessive violet-eyed pigeon or a lilac-eyed. Would breed top daughters to breed and cocks to race. Fantastic pigeon.
This is a full sister to the previous three pigeons. From 1980, she is a daughter of the Tamer, the Sprouty, a very good stock hen indeed.
This hen now that we are looking at, you can see again it is concaved. This is a brilliant hen. A hen, if you can remember, a Felix Powell's stockcock or his other brother, this hen would churn winners out. Again, a pigeon I would really like. A full eye coming straight across from the perimeter, straight into the adaptation this time. This hen denotes character. Breed exceptionally fast sons, good honest pigeons and a top hen.
This is the eye on the fabulous Janssen hen, the mother to the Wittoog, also to the Zyken, the Dicky, the Comrade, the Smollen, the Crommen, all the champion pigeons. 14 first prize winners this hen bred with the Jan.
Den eerste, hè? Welke in de first one? Dan die? Ja. De tweede is een dikke. The second is een dikke.
From 81.
Ja.
Yeah. Right? Okay, you get him? Yeah. That's the famous Crommer. Notice the length of the nails on this pigeon. Felix Powell says a lot of Janssen pigeons all grow long nails. This pigeon is a full brother to Whittle, a champion racing cock with many good performances. The smaller. This one here.
Right, on this pigeon, as I look at it straight away, I can see the Glondolier pigeons dominating. A dual-purpose pigeon, racer breeder, lilac-eyed, and you can see how the perimeter is climbing over the top of the iris. Fantastic racing pigeon, also a breeder. If you can cast your mind back to three eyes from this eye, to the sprouter, the yellow-eyed hen, this cock and that hen pair together will produce champion pigeons. A fantastic cock, dual-purpose, racer, breeder.
The eye on the famous Crommen, champion son of the Jan and the Janssen hen. 4 first prizes, and in his last race from Pont St Max, he was first club out of 634 birds. This is the small one, brother to the previous pigeon.
Right, again a full-eyed pigeon, old gold. You can see this is a brother to the common, but the common, where he is a dual-purpose pigeon, this pigeon is more a racing pigeon. A pigeon that would be most consistent, racing, will win. Good pigeon, Ed wins. A pigeon that you could pull, but as a producer would be itty missy. It would have to be a top violet-eyed hen to produce.
The small one, another champion son of the famous pair, the Jan and the Janssen hen. This cock won 3 first prizes racing, and in 4 years won 41 prizes, 20 of those in the first 10. Another winning son out of the famous pair. How many first prizes is that one, Felix? 2 or 3? Yeah. All champion pigeons. This blue-white for the cock at the front.
The eye we are looking at now is another brother to the last 2 eyes. This particular pigeon, as you can see again, is almost a full eye. And you can see the perimeter are coming in over the top of the iris. Dual-purpose racer pigeon. Quite a good consistent pigeon, very honest. But by the way, this pigeon will produce with a lilac-eyed or recessive violet-eyed hen. I rate this the second best of the 3 brothers. A fantastic pigeon.
I have another champion son from the Jan and the Janssen Doven. This is the eye on the Dickin. This pigeon, a tremendous pigeon. In 4 years he won 39 prizes. 23 of those prizes were in the first 10. And in his last race he won first Pont St Max out of 489 birds. That particular pigeon has many prizes. How many first prizes, Felix?
3, 4,
3 or 4 first prizes, but many prizes in racing. Always in the clock. Many people put themselves forward as being pigeon experts on eyesign and pigeon matters generally. But I've been to the continent many times. I've met all the top fanciers in England and Europe. And I regard Bill Carney as being a genius among pigeon fanciers. Bill, along with his famous father, have over 60 years' experience in the sport, always at the top. Bill Carney's racing record speaks for itself. When you consider he's flown in 3 federations and he's clocked 2 into 1 thimble to top the Fed 3 times on all the federations, as many as 6,000 birds competing. The first 9 out of 630 birds sending 18, and 17 of those dropping together, beating the rest by 63 yards per minute and flying 25 miles further than the longest flyer. Results like these aren't uncommon at the Carney Loft. A man that can back up his selections with a wealth of experience and many fine results in the sport. When you consider that over the last few years, in fact the last 4 years in total, Bill's selections have won the following: 2 first and 2 second English nationals, 2 first Irish nationals, 3 first Queen's Cup winners, above 20 first combine winners, and 100 first Fed winners, selected from Bill's selections in the last 4 years only, and many thousands of club first prize winners. The reason Bill Carney's reputation is so great among the fancy is because of his results. His results are absolutely tremendous. I've only met Bill on 6 occasions. I've only seen him work at a loft once, and the people were mesmerised. A tremendous fancier, and I look forward to working with Bill in the future many, many more times. I've had a tremendous amount of enjoyment making this particular videotape. I hope you'll derive just as much satisfaction from it.
Free racing pigeon tips and lots of info. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Look at the links and email below. There are many reasons to buy my racing pigeon method. Here are some of the best reasons. You will get excellent results. It's a very simple system to use. It's affordable. I have had over 400 first prize winners. It's adaptable to any situation. You can use it with any racing method, natural, widowhood, young birds. It's a very effective method. There is no need to spend a lot of money on fancy pigeon products. It's a reliable system and it is foolproof to use. Professional athletes, race horses, take the same products. There is science behind this, not just hearsay. It is all to do with red blood cells and oxygen in the blood. Without that, a pigeon will not race well, or an athlete will not win a race. If he has low oxygen in his blood, the above is fact and is 100% science. There are a few things you can do to improve your chances of winning at racing pigeons. One of the most important things is to learn as much as you can about the sport. You'll need to know the different types of pigeons, how to train them, and how to race them. Another key factor is practice. You'll need to be able to fly your pigeons competently in order to win races. And, of course, you'll need to have the funds to invest in racing pigeons and other racing equipment. Free racing pigeon tips and lots of info. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Look at the links and email below. There are many reasons to buy my racing pigeon method. Here are some of the best reasons. You will get excellent results. It's a very simple system to use. It's affordable. I have had over 400 first prize winners. It's adaptable to any situation. You can use it with any racing method, natural, widowhood, young birds. It's a very effective method. There is no need to spend a lot of money on fancy pigeon products. It's a reliable system and it is foolproof to use. Professional athletes, race horses, take the same products. There is science behind this, not just hearsay. It is all to do with red blood cells and oxygen in the blood. Without that, a pigeon will not race well, or an athlete will not win a race. If he has low oxygen in his blood, the above is fact and is 100% science. There are a few things you can do to improve your chances of winning at racing pigeons. One of the most important things is to learn as much as you can about the sport. You'll need to know the different types of pigeons, how to train them, and how to race them. Another key factor is practice. You'll need to be able to fly your pigeons competently in order to win races. And, of course, you'll need to have the funds to invest in racing pigeons and other racing equipment. Free racing pigeon tips and lots of info. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Look at the links and email below.